In today's video, I'm going to discuss a few steps that you can take that can help prevent your house from burning down in a wildland fire. Will make your job in life so much easier. Before we get started with techniques, let's talk a little bit about whose responsibility it is to look after our personal belongings in our property. For years now, our corrupt and incompetent government has trained us as Americans to not take responsibility or rely upon our own wit and wisdom to look after ourselves and our properties. They've trained us that we need to leave all responsibility to emergency services, 911, law enforcement, these type of organizations. And although there are many great people that are working in these organizations, ultimately we are responsible and we need to take more responsibility for ourselves, our health and welfare of our families, and protection of our personal property rights. So if a sheriff or federal employee comes along and asks me to evacuate my property and leave it in the hands of their emergency services or FEMA, no, I'm not going to do that. You have to make that decision, and you have to understand the risks are involved. I personally have made the decision that I will stay, I will make a stand, and I will look after my own property. I'll send my family, my wife, and my children away to a safe area, but ultimately I'm going to take responsibility for keeping my property safe. As I was watching videos of the fires in Colorado, I watched several homes that burnt down needlessly by slow creeping fires. You could watch the fire creep up, a small ground fire, start an exterior deck or some stairs on fire, and in 30 minutes the whole house was engulfed in flames. You have to weigh and mitigate the risks. Obviously, if you have a 200-foot wall of flame coming towards your house, traveling at 30-40 miles an hour, that is an indefensible position. So you have to make those decisions, and you may have to make last-minute decisions. But if we're just talking about small spot fires, ground fires, or a crowding fire coming through, these are things that you can prevent yourself. One man, a homeowner with a garden hose and a sprinkler, could have prevented the loss of several of those homes that I saw. So just because the federal government or local or state government tells you that you need to evacuate, it's time for us to push back in situations like this. No, we're not going to evacuate. I'm going to look after my home. I'm going to look after my family. I'm a man with a mind. I can make my own decision, and I'm not just going to be needlessly swept away and follow instructions just because someone with a badge has come up and told me to do so. So these things need to be taken into consideration. Let's go over some of the tools that you're going to need to get your land cleared up and better prepared to survive a wildland fire. I think the most important tool for those, I can only speak to people that are living in forested areas like I do in the Pacific Northwest. We have large, tall conifers, and so one of the most important tools is a pole saw. And what I found is about 12 foot is about the optimum. And I've been through a lot of these, and most of them are just rubbish. Most of them, what you're going to find are at your Home Depot or Lowe's, are going to be kind of a combination pole saw pruner. And this falls into the problem with multi-tools. Yes, they will work as a pole saw. Yes, they will work as a pruner. But when you start asking a tool to do too many things, what it ends up doing is it does all of them not very well. And that's what I find with these things. They're poorly made. They're inconvenient to use. They're expensive for what they are. And they are just, I don't think they're any good. So avoid anything like this that tries to do too much. After much searching, I finally found a pole saw that is excellent. And this is made, as I've always said, if you want a tool that works, go to people who use them every day. If you want to know what welder to buy, go to a guy who makes his living with the welding. If you want to know who makes the best pipe wrenches, go talk to a journeyman plumber, and so on and so forth. They'll tell you. They don't have time to fool around with gimmicky homeowner stuff. They go for the stuff that works. So if you're really serious about protecting your land, and you're going to be spending a lot of time, especially if you have large acreages, you need to make the investment in a tool. It will that investment you make will make your job and life so much easier. So what I have found, there's a company called Cutwell, in Yakima, Washington, and they make these for the orchards because we produce here more, I think, more pears and cherries than any place in the country, and so they use these a lot for pruning. And yeah, Cutwell, Cutwell products. You can look them up online, and they make a very excellent, very simple pole saw. It's got a 12-foot handle. It's aluminum construction, but the key is it's got a wood core inside, so that gives it a lot of rigidity, especially when you have it full length. It's got a good curved, aggressive cut, a blade, and it's inexpensive. I think you can get this whole package here for probably around $80 or so, which is really a good value. The Silkies made in Japan are also excellent pole saws, but you're going to pay close to $300 for that combination. You could have 3 of these for the price of 1 Silky. So this is an excellent tool. Next is going to be a chainsaw. And many guys have written and say, you know, I want to get a chainsaw, which one do I get? If you could only have one, I think without a question, the STIHL MS260 series. I think they've superseded it now with a 261. When STIHL makes chainsaws, they have 3 levels. They have a consumer level, they have what I'll call a prosumer level, which is kind of in the middle between professional and consumer, and then they have full professional saws. You're going to pay twice as much for a professional saw as you are for the bottom of the line consumer saw, but it's well worth it. It's easier to use, it's more powerful, it's lighter weight, it's way more durable, and less vibration and everything. So before you buy a chainsaw, you know, spend your time, save a little bit of money, and go with a saw like this. If I could only have one of my saws, I would choose this 260. If you're cutting firewood and just doing stuff most guys do, this is a heck of a saw. You can even run up to a 28-inch bar on this. I do it all the time, and it works. 24 is more optimal, but an excellent saw for all around. Very light, very compact. It's small enough that your wife or girlfriend can start it and safely use it. And if I had only one, this is the one that I would go with. Also, you know, if you don't want to spend that much coin on a saw, you might look at the Husqvarna, the Rancher series. They have a pretty good combination. It's available at most box stores, and that's really a good saw for the money, probably around the $300 range, and usually you get some extra parts and tools in a box, and that's not a bad way to go either. It's a good size saw. Next is going to be a good pair of Loppers or pruning shears, a bow saw. This is maybe a little on the small side, but something comparable. You can buy these anywhere from $10 to $20 and not very expensive. And what else is always handy is the ubiquitous Baco Laplander. Nice folding saw you can keep in your back pocket, and for small jobs, it's always there, always handy, and that's a nice way to go. And the last is a proper orchard ladder. And let me pull off the tripod, then I'll show you how that works. Orchard ladder is key. It gives you extra height. This right here is about a 10-footer, and what makes an orchard ladder unique is it's got a real wide stance at the bottom, heavy cleated feet so it won't slip, and and it has 3 points of contact, so you have a pole right here that sticks in the ground, so it'll never slip out on you. What's nice about this is they really work well on uneven ground. They're very stable, and use this in combination with your pole saw. It gives you a good 20-foot reach once you get up towards the top that you can limb up your trees, and that's what you want. You know, ideally, when you're limbing your trees for fires, what we're concerned about are ground fires or that are going to come up here and cause what you call a ladder fire, which are going to burn up the branches. Oftentimes on these trees, you'll see that there's dead, dry branches, and those are really susceptible to a ground fire. So as a ground fire creeps along, if you don't have these trees limbed up, it's going to start those branches on fire, it's going to work up, and not only are you going to have a ground fire, but you're going to have a crown fire in the top also. So what we're trying to do is to remove all of those dead and green limbs as high as we can reach. Ultimately, 2/3 of the height of the tree. That's obviously not possible for a lot of these larger trees. Half, it works, but just get what you can. Even if they're only 12 feet, that's way better than having these things at ground level. Alright, when we're laying out, trying to build a defensible area around our homes, we're worried about 2 things. Let's talk about 2 circles around the house. The first is a 30-foot circle, 30-foot diameter, or excuse me, 30 foot away from any combustible surfaces around your house. Those need to be devoid of anything that's going to be flammable, especially high-pitched trees, trees like fir trees or pine trees that have a lot of sap that will burn well. You don't want those around your house. So maintain that 30-foot perimeter. Avoid shrubberies or brush, anything that is going to that can cause that can get started and get your house burning. So and also keep a nice green lawn around there. Keep it mowed, keep it down, keep it watered. You know, that will go a long ways in preventing your house from sparking up. And a lot of us with old homes, you know, we don't have this choice anymore, but if you are constructing a new home, you know, really consider siding. Siding, for example, that is made out of like a concrete product, like a hardy board, in combination with a metal roof is very resistant to fire. Where my house, for example, has cedar siding and softwood fir on the porches and overhangs is just the opposite. So I want to be very cautious to make sure that I don't have any landscaping around the house that's going to start a fire. For those of you guys who are building new fires, make sure you look, or new homes, make sure you look at metal roof, concrete board siding, and also if you're going to have exterior decks or covered porches, try to, if you can afford it, use hardwoods on those decks. It's much more difficult for a hardwood to start burning than it is for a soft.